hopefully this is not some kooky, made-up thing that this is real. I haven't seen anybody claim that this is not real. Usually they would claim it. So again, I'm being very tentative here because I looked for it and it wasn't on the website. So, but there are people in YouTube, in Twitter saying they saw it on the website. I didn't see it. So red lights come up. Maybe they just took it off. But here it is. I don't know if you guys saw this. You're seeing a piece of it. It's, again, from the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And it's about white culture in the United States. And it says white dominant culture, or whiteness. Notice how racist this is. Refers to the ways white people and their traditions, attitudes, and ways of life have been normalized over time and are now considered standard practices in the United States. And since white people still hold most of the institutional power in America, we have internalized some aspects of white culture. Who is we? I guess the non-whites, including people of culture. Now, first of all, I mean, that's just blatant racism. You can talk about Western culture and Western civilization. But to identify it with a race, to identify it with color skin, plays right into the hands of white supremacists. This is as racist as any white supremacist. This is a product of Western civilization starting in Greece, going through the Renaissance and through the Enlightenment. It's not white culture. It's not whiteness. This really what they're describing here is the Enlightenment. And again, notice what's missing is the standard for what a good culture is. Truth, reason, human flourishing. No standards. The only standard is white people came up with it. White people came up with it. Maybe it's good. And notice that implicitly what they're rejecting, and this is what makes this so racist and so disgusting. What implicitly they are rejecting is the universality of the human condition. The fact that universal truths apply to everybody. That the law of gravity doesn't matter what your color of your skin, it applies. That capitalism produces wealth, no matter the color of your skin, no matter the culture. If they apply capitalism, they benefit. So this is a pure racist, and again, plays right into the hands of the white supremacists. Now notice what it counts as white dominant culture. Rugged individualism. Now, rugged individualism is part of American culture. It's part of what identifies America. But it is, the idea of individualism is a universal idea. It applies to all individuals, and the truth is, there's that big capital T. The truth is that no matter who adopts being an individual, benefits. Now, what is rugged individual? The individual is the prime unit. Self-reliance. Self-reliance is somehow whiteness. Independence and autonomy. Individuals assuming to be in control of their own environment. You got what you deserve. Now, notice what this does, how insulting and oppressive this is to somebody who's not white. They're basically told that if you have the idea that you have control over your environment, or you have the idea that you should have autonomy, or you should be independent, or you should be self-reliant, you are just succumbing to the white dominant culture. You are rejecting your true nature, which is determined by your genes and determined by your color of your skin. I mean, this is so disgusting. It is, it drives me nuts. This is white supremacy, or black whatever. Blacks have to be collective. Whites are individuals. Blacks, I mean, why can't a black be in control of his own environment? Have autonomy, be independent, be self-reliant. And isn't it true that the individual is the prime unit no matter what color skin they have? Absolutely it is. But that's what they're rejecting. They're trying to undermine individualism. That's their real goal. Their real goal is to kill individualism, reason, science. Notice that item number 3 is emphasis on the scientific method. That's white, not a truth, because we've abandoned truth. There is no such thing as truth. There's just color of skin. Now, it's true that this is the dominant culture, but that's a good thing because it's a true thing. To be objective, to be rational, linear thinking is white. Oh my God. I guess it's cultural appropriation if somebody not white does it. How disgusting is this? This is the consequence of multiculturalism. This is the consequence of viewing all cultures as equal. Culture is not equal. Individuals are equal in their rights, in their freedoms. But culture is not equal. Cultures that emphasize individualism, cultures that emphasize the scientific method, cultures that emphasize work ethic are good cultures. Cultures that de-emphasize these things, cultures that reject these things, particularly the scientific method, particularly objectivity, are bad cultures. But that, you see, they would term as racist because they assume that because the people who happen to have discovered these truths happen to be white, and who knows what race the ancient Greeks were, but happen to be white, therefore this is associated with a white race. But what do you make of great black scientists, great black intellectuals, great black economists? Oh, they sold out to the white dominant culture. It really wants me to throw up. Cause and effect relationships are white. Quantitative emphasis. Putting numbers to things. That's white. Now, what does this tell somebody visiting this museum? A black kid visiting this museum. That if they embrace science, if they embrace education, if they embrace individualism, if they embrace self-reliance, if they embrace hard work, then they are selling out. If they embrace individualism, they are selling out. Yeah, I'm not going to go over all this. So, I mean, this is so derogatory to their own people, to the people they associate with their own people. I don't think there is such a thing as their own people. This is so derogatory and so crippling. This is why, if you want to know why, blacks have had a hard time economically, educationally. This is why. It has nothing to do with their genes. It has nothing to do with IQ. It has to do with their culture. A culture that rejects individualism. And a culture that rejects scientific method. And a culture that rejects the work ethic is never going to be successful. Never, ever going to be successful. And doesn't deserve to be successful. But there's no reason. There's no genetic reason. There's no color of skin reason for them to reject any of that. All right, now I wasn't sure if this was a legit document because it was so insane that I figured I better check. So I went and looked for other stuff about white culture. And you can see it here. Right? Yeah, the optimist, pessimist, I don't know what that is, optimist and pessimist. He says, if they're saying that this is white culture and you're saying this culture is superior, you are technically a white supremacist. Yes, and that's what they want. Their real agenda is not to defeat racism. The real agenda is to defeat reason, science, and individualism. That is what they ultimately hate. That is what they ultimately despise. Right. Now, if you look at this document, this is a document from Seattle.gov. It's in the education department. It's used by Seattle.gov in their education department. And here's what white culture is. One, white culture defines what is considered normal. It creates standards for judging values. For example, think about who and how these terms are defined. Good parenting, stable family, well-raised child, individual self-sufficiency, and effective leadership. The standard definitions of all of those are white. Two, white culture privileges a focus on individuals, parentheses, not groups. The real agenda here is collectivism. And collectivism, racism is a form of collectivism. The real agenda here is collectivism, anti-individualism, anti-capitalism. It's socialism, collectivism, altruism, and mysticism, because it's a complete and utter rejection of science. One of these is about science. Where's the one about science? White culture values certain ways of knowing. That's number 5. For example, if you can't measure it, it's not a value. Focus on cause and effect relationships. Oh my God, cause and effect relationship. And rational linear thinking. What can I say? By the way, the document I read to you before, and I think this document too, are both basically inspired by the same work. Let me see. Yeah, I think this has different citations, but the citation is, and you can get it, it's called Some Aspects and Assumptions of White Culture in the United States by Judith Katz. And my guess is that is a paper you can actually find, and that's where this whole thing is. And so there is a legit citation behind it. This is not made up. People actually believe this. People actually take this stuff seriously. People actually think this is good. I don't know if good is the right word. That this is scientific. That this has value. When it is truly despicable. And you see, I get angry at lots of things. Because when I see my values attacked, whether it's by Trump or whether it's by the nutty left, I get angry because values are important to me. And I know there are many of you out there. I get these emails and messages that say, Yuan, if only you were calmer. If only you just analyzed this and dissected it in a calm, Sam Harris kind of way, you would have a much bigger audience. And maybe that is true. Maybe that is true. I don't know. But it's not me. I get angry. I get angry when I do Q&As in lectures. I get angry when I speak in lectures. I believe that modeling appropriate behavior, getting angry is appropriate at crazy, crazy ideas is really, really important. Morality, ideas are not some technical thing that one stays. It's life. They want to kill me. They literally want to kill me. And I'm not going to stay quiet while they scheme to kill me.
What we need today, what I call the new intellectual, would be any man or woman who is willing to think. Meaning, any man or woman who knows that man's life must be guided by reason, by the intellect, not by feelings, wishes, whims, or mystic revelations. Any man or woman who values his life and who does not want to give in to today's cult of despair, cynicism, and impotence, and does not intend to give up the world to the dark ages and to the rule of the collectivist brute.
All right, before we go on, reminder, please like the show. We've got 163 live listeners right now, 30 likes. That should be at least 100. I figure at least 100 of you actually like the show. Maybe there are like 60 of the Matthews out there who hate it, but at least the people who are liking it, I want to see a thumbs up. There you go. Start liking it. I want to see that go to 100. All it takes is a click of a thing. Whether you're looking at this, and the likes matter. It's not an issue of my ego. It's an issue of the algorithm. The more you like something, the more the algorithm likes it. So, and if you don't like the show, give it a thumbs down. Let's see your actual views being reflected in the likes. But if you like it, don't just sit there help get the show promoted. Of course, you should also share, and you can support the show at JeronBrooksShow.com/support, or on Patreon or Subscribestar or Locals, and show your support for the work, for the value hopefully you're receiving from this. And of course, don't forget, if you're not a subscriber, even if you just come here to troll, or even if you're here like Matthew to defend Marx, then you should subscribe, because that way you'll know when to show up. You'll know what shows are on, when they're on. You'll get notified, right? So, yes, like, share, subscribe, support. Like, share, subscribe, support. There you go. Easy. Do one or all of those, please.